Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, if we look at the pre-signs before the arrival of this planet, which is CO6, you're looking at CO3, 4, and 5. Well, CO3 is economic collapse. CO4 is famine that's talked about in war.
Yeah.
So I would think that his people are warned already or prepared if they listen to his instructions and put food and supplies up for a Sabbath or Jubilee. So I would say that the arrival of this planet would be probably just the Passover after the Jubilee is finished now.
Yeah.
We didn't know if it was going to be the Sabbath or the Jubilee, but it looks like the Sabbath is clear. We don't have a sighting of it. And so there's a higher probability of it showing up this next March or April. And that's if man has got the Jubilee and the Sabbath correct.
I was just about to say, Gil, because I've been following what the Orthodox do in Israel, and I do know that last year that the Temple Institute was talking about Adar Bet, or the extra month that they add into the year when you have a leap year. Now, they were doing it last year. Then again, I see this year Rabbi Glazerson doing videos where he's talking about Adar Bet. And so I was thinking, wow, what's going on here? You can't have Adar Bet twice in a row. So I discovered that there's even a division, even in the Judaism, of agreement. Some cannot agree that we were in a sabbatical year, and some think that we're in the Jubilee. So it's just like in Christian bodies, that there's division on when we are and things like that. So they don't even know themselves absolute. And I do know this, in the past few years when they're calling it for Rosh Hashanah, going by Hallel, they've been wrong by 24 hours or so. So there is discrepancies in some of man's measurements and documenting of time. So if the Jubilee is next year, so it would postpone this thing or looking for or the calculations of it by at least whatever that time is. Is that correct, Gil?
Correct. If we stick with the biblical narrative and don't allow man to make any changes, in Psalms, when Isaiah is speaking, this was during the time of Hezekiah, when the shadow went backwards.
Right.
The calendar year changed from 360 to 365 and a quarter days. And Isaiah writes in Psalms, because Psalms is actually, I think, 4 or 5 books. It wasn't all written by David. And Isaiah writes down that now the seasons are attached to the sighting of the new moon. So that's what we're supposed to be following, not Helia, that rabbi that changed the method and going to a straight counting method, because they're not using a lunar and waiting for the ripeness of the barley as it's been instructed in the Torah, because you're not supposed to use old grain. So so there is a discrepancy, even the way people look at the moon, whether or not it's if you look at the old way of looking at a new moon, it was the first sliver of light, and there's an argument over that even. So if we have things right, and that's the only thing we can do, because we didn't live through it, we don't have it documented for our personal. We have to rely on others. So if we do have it right, then I would expect it possibly this next March or April.
Right. That verse that he is talking about, folks, I did an actual search on that to see if it had anything to do with Nibiru. And I'm talking about where Ahaz was with, excuse me, hold on. Hezekiah, excuse me. I don't know why I said Ahaz. I'm trying to think of too many things at one time. What he just said, when the sun went back on the steps, this is the actual verse right here that you see. This is Isaiah 38:8, and it runs right through the word Nibiru, which is standing vertical in that. Also, I found the year in here, 2016, written backwards. So, what I did with Gil's timeline is I tried to go and see if I could find any correlation with that timeline. And this is one data point that hits spot on to that point. What he's talking about is when time went back 10 degrees, it went up 10 steps, as he's shown in his chart. Here it is in the codes, just as he said. It even gives a year, which is 2016, written backwards right there, Gil. I just kind of want to interject that because this proves with Bible code.
Let me help you out a little bit on that.
Okay.
Several other countries at the time changed their calendar within the next 5 years of that, because all of the other countries at that time had a 360-day year. Now, what happened is that this planet passed close enough to Earth where it caused us to tilt, which is the shadow going backwards on steps. I know in the King James it says a sundial, but that's not what it says in the Hebrew. The shadow went back on steps. A north to east swing would not have worked. All of the oceans would have emptied out onto the continents, and there's no mention of that. But a north to south tilt of 26 to 28 degrees has been proven 3 to 4 times in the Bible. And it passed close enough to where it drug Earth outward slightly, which would increase its diameter around the sun, giving us a longer period of year, which would give us 365 and a quarter days. And this is documented outside the Bible in secular history, in several cultures, that everyone had to change their calendar to 365 and a quarter days.
Yeah, so, and I like how you did that, Gil. I'm actually flipping through your charts now, looking for the chart that shows Hezekiah's steps.
I can show you the diagram right now. I have it in front of me.
Okay, that would be even better because I'm kind of stumbling through it.
Okay. Let's see right here. You able to see this or not?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's see right here. Hezekiah. This is Hezekiah right here.
And that's what he's talking about, folks. And that is what I just showed you in the codes, that it's encoded there. And not only that, this is pulled from one of the tables that Rabbi Gladerson did, because he showed you one that had added numbers, where it says, "I will see him, but not now; observe him, but not near. A star shall come out of Jacob; a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroys all the sons of Sheth." And we're talking about the same thing here. This planetary body is the hand of the Creator. I mean, He created the universe, so it is His prerogative. It's His will to use whatever He does that will bring judgment and destruction, and the Word actually confirms it, folks.
It's the same way that He uses the moon and the sun to give us. It's a tool that He created, whether it gives you a blessing or a curse. Because remember, when Joshua's long day happened, he used this to give him extra 12 hours to destroy their enemy, and it was a blessing to him. And only the meteors fell only on the enemy. None of the fiery hail fell on Joshua's men. So this item can be as a curse or as a blessing. Now, since I've made the charts, there's a new archaeological find that verifies what I'm saying.
Hezekiah's seal?
Yes, you see the seal right here on the side there. Let's see if we can find a larger picture of this right here. This is Hezekiah's seal. It's found just recently, and it shows a winged disc. Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, that's a pagan symbol."
All right, and what I was just trying to tell you before we had the little glitch there is that writing that's on that thing is Paleo Hebrew. So that's an amazing find.
Correct. I think it's one of the only seals that they've ever found for Hezekiah.
Wow. And that was just recent that they just found this, huh?
Yes. It was It was a find that they didn't expect. They found it in the when the Muslims have cleared out some of the area. Well, actually, it's the southeast corner of the Temple Mount, off of the corner where around David's area, where they had I think a fire
Yeah.
that burned
Yeah.
burned a lot of scrolls, and what it did, it fired the clay, making it very hard, and that's how come we have it still, because
Wow.
the fire had to make it into a pottery, basically.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. So, I mean, we got, and as he said, there's documented evidence with the Chinese and with the Nibri disc that was found in Germany. I mean, there's all around the different expressions of different cultures have seen this thing. But what I wanted to get it into, folks, because this is not a debate of whether Planet X is real or not, or if other cultures have seen it, but what is exactly plasma discharge and electric universe? I mean, Gil, you were telling me last night that you were, a former welder. You know about plasma welders, arc welding, and things like that. Can you give us just a kind of an idea of what plasma is and what we're talking about here?
Well, plasma is the fourth state of matter, and yes, in the welding and the fabrication field, they use plasma to cut steel or stainless or any other type of metal, as long as it can conduct electrical current.
Electrical.
Yeah, electrical current. Then it's able to be plasma is able to be used to cut.
Yeah. Now I can tell you, folks. So I've seen these torches cut through. I mean, solid sheets of steel. It'll turn this steel into liquid, and it liquefies it into molten steel with the intense heat that takes place. Now, why are we talking about this? This is the thing. Last year, as I said, Siding Spring came by. There were these scientists we were following in the codes, and there were these scientists at the observatory Siding Spring in Australia, and they were talking about the electric universe. And they were expecting a static discharge, a plasma discharge. They were not expecting a deep impact, which I had called it that way based on the word collides in the codes. We had also found plasma discharge. Now, I had no idea what that was. Paul Hansen at the Siding Spring Observatory asked me. He said that he had talked to those scientists, and they were curious if I was searching the codes, if plasma discharge was there, because that's what they were looking for. We found it. No direct hit on Mars. And so
I can
go ahead.
I can play the video if you want to. I can play the video to show it to the audience if you want.
Yeah, that'll be good. So as he's setting that up, folks, what we're talking about here is this comet came by, and these scientists were anticipating some sort of discharge, and it actually happened. And the thing is, it was totally overshadowed by my mess up of saying it was going to be a deep impact, that we had actually had a predictive code, and we found out about this 18 months later when NASA actually confirmed that they did collide, that the atmospheres collided, and that is why there was a static discharge, because it's like a bolt of lightning flashed on Mars, and it lit it up like a light bulb. What you got here, Gil?
This is a segment off of my DVD that shows it. Let me just play it for you. It's about 1 minute and 49 seconds long.
Good. We don't have sound on this end, Gil, on this. Here we go.
The electrical
hold on.
astronomy and physicists.
There we go. We got it now.
Physicists made a prediction just recently that when comet Siding Springs passed near Mars, that if their theory that the comet tail was plasma, there'd be electrical discharge between the comet and Mars, and that's what we observed. Observation like that is science-based.
I looked into comet Siding Springs passing by Mars that would confirm this theory. NASA was providing a live feed during its arrival back in October 2014 of this encounter between the two bodies. When it got a little too close, NASA cut the feed to this much further out angle. As you can see, this image is not all that great. Fortunately, I was able to find another angle from a different available video.
I remember when they cut the feed to it too, because we were following this really intensely.
Professor of medical sociology. He was located near on Mount Tide National Park, Tenerife, Spain. He was able to record this interaction between Siding Springs and Mars. What you're seeing is Mars light up like the sun after Comet Siding Springs' tail passes by, almost like that of an electromagnetic pulse. There was no major news media that covered this interaction. The only and closest article that I could find was given out by CNN titled, "Comet Sighting Spring Buzzes Mars, but NASA orbiters and rovers are safe."
Yeah.
Nothing else was talked about.
I was a little disappointed, Gil, because it was clear that we had in the codes plasma discharge. Then they actually film it, and it actually happened, and nobody talks about it. It wasn't a big deal in the electric universe, field where it was just flooding the mainstream. But I do remember, and I don't know why we got two pictures of me. Oh, you're showing a screen of me. Anyway, what we're talking about, and he had a great graphic up in just a second. I'm going to show you. Here it is. This is what we're talking about here, folks, the plasma discharge. As this planetary body, it doesn't have to be a planetary body like Planet 7X. This happens with comets. It happens with large rocks. Anything that has the charge, it will interact with planets. Now, the thing about it is, we've seen it happen on Mars. We've caught it on film. It's happened many times. There is evidence on Mars, and I'm going to bring up a picture here of Mars and the scars there, because this is what we're looking at happening when this comet comes by. It strikes the planet like a lightning bolt. Now, there are times